The massive crystal dome floated in empty space like a giant soap bubble. Inside, thousands of alien beings filled every seat and platform. Their voices created a constant buzz that echoed off the curved walls. Commander Jake Morrison walked through the center aisle, his military boots clicking against the smooth floor. Every eye in the place watched him. Jake had served in the Galactic Council's forces for 23 years. He had fought pirates in the Outer Rim and saved colonies. From natural disasters, he had shaken hands with creatures that looked like walking trees and shared meals with beings made of living light. Today felt different from all those years of service. Ambassador Lisa Carter sat in the diplomatic section, her face calm, but her hands gripping the armrests of her chair. She had been Earth's voice in council politics for 8 years. She knew this day would come eventually. The other council members had grown jealous of humanity's success. They wanted Earth gone. They had found their excuse. The Kepler 440b incident had happened 6 months ago. A massive solar flare had threatened to wipe out 3 million colonists on the planet's surface. The Galactic Council had called for committees and studies while people faced death. Earth's fleet had acted without waiting for permission. Admiral Benwell Hayes had ordered his ships to evacuate the civilians immediately. The rescue operation had saved every single life on that world. Humans, Altarians, Centaurians, and dozens of other species owed their lives to Earth's quick action. But the Council saw it as a violation of their precious non-interference directive. The Zephyrian Empire had pushed hardest for Earth's punishment. It claimed humans were too aggressive, too willing to act without proper authority. Jake reached the speaker's platform in the center of the dome. The noise gradually died down as he climbed the steps. Chancellor Vexstar of the Zephyrian Empire sat in the high seat, scaled face showing what humans had learned to recognize as satisfaction. The Chancellor had orchestrated this entire proceeding. Commander Morrison, the Chancellor's voice boomed through the translation system. You stand accused of violating the non-interference directive during the Kepler 440b crisis. Your species has been found guilty by this council. Earth's voting rights are hereby suspended. Your trade privileges are revoked. Your military access to council space is terminated. Jake listened to the formal punishment without changing expression. He had expected this outcome. The council had made up their minds before the trial even began. 3 million saved lives meant nothing compared to their bureaucratic rules. Furthermore, the Chancellor continued, Earth will pay reparations to the Kepler system for unauthorized intervention. Your species will submit to council oversight for all future military operations. These conditions will remain in effect until Earth demonstrates proper respect for council authority. The alien delegates murmured their approval. Most of them looked relieved. Earth had been too successful, too independent. The humans shared their technology freely and asked for little in return. This generosity had made other species look bad by comparison. Now they could go back to their slow, careful ways without Earth showing them up. Jake looked around the chamber one more time. He saw the Rigel Medical Alliance representatives, who used human-designed equipment in their hospitals. He saw the Kepler Mining Consortium delegates, who relied on Earth's quantum processors for their excavation work. He saw hundreds of species that had benefited from human innovation and protection. None of them spoke up for Earth. None of them challenged the Zephyrian accusations. They sat quietly and let it happen because it was easier than standing up to bullies. Do you accept these terms, Commander Morrison? Chancellor Vexstar asked. The question was meant to be humiliating. The council expected Jake to beg for mercy, to promise Earth would behave better in the future. Jake reached up and unpinned the council insignia from his uniform jacket. The small metal badge had represented everything he believed in for over 2 decades. He had worn it with pride through countless missions and diplomatic meetings. Now it felt heavy in his palm. He placed the insignia on the speaker's podium with a soft click that somehow carried through the silent chamber. Commander Morrison, the Chancellor prompted, confusion creeping into his voice. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Jake said. His voice was calm and clear. We will no longer participate in this theater of the corrupt and cowardly. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then the chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some delegates jumped to their feet while others cowered in their seats. This was not how these proceedings usually went. Captain Amy Rodriguez had been waiting near the diplomatic entrance. At Jake's signal, she began coordinating the immediate evacuation of all Earth personnel from Council space. Human staff members throughout the dome started walking toward the exits in organized groups. Ambassador Carter stood up from her seat and began moving toward the diplomatic exit. She had already sent coded messages to Earth's colonies and military bases throughout Council space. The evacuation order would reach every human outpost within hours. Chancellor Vexstar was shouting something about protocol violations and proper procedures. His words were lost in the general uproar. Several other alien leaders were demanding explanations or trying to restore order. None of them seemed to understand what had just happened. Jake walked down from the speaker's platform without. Looking back, the Council had expected Earth to grovel and submit like other species had done before. Instead, humanity was simply leaving.
Ow.
They were taking their technology, their innovations, and their protection with them. As Jake reached the exit, he could hear Admiral Hayes speaking through his communicator from the ESS Defiance. The evacuation was already beginning. Human colony ships were preparing to leave their adopted worlds. Research stations were downloading critical data and shutting down equipment. Military bases were destroying sensitive materials and pulling back to Earth's space. The galaxy was about to discover what life was like without humanity's steady presence. The Council had gotten exactly what they asked for. Jake just hoped they would be happy with the results. The last human delegate left the Council chamber. 12 minutes after Jake's announcement, behind them, thousands of aliens continued arguing about what to do next. None of them seemed to realize that it was already too late to change anything. Earth was going home. Dr. Nathan Wells stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching dozens of screens showing evacuation operations across the galaxy. Each screen displayed a different human colony or outpost preparing to leave Council space. The operation had been planned for months in secret, just in case Earth needed to leave quickly. Nobody had expected it to happen so soon. Status report from New Geneva called out Lieutenant Karen Stone from her console. Captain Foster's convoy is loaded and ready to depart. 15,000 colonists aboard 7 ships. Nathan nodded and marked another location on his master list. New Geneva had been one of Earth's most successful colonies. The settlers had spent 30 years turning a barren rock into a garden world. Now they were abandoning everything they had built because the Council wanted to punish Earth for saving lives. Captain Ryan Foster watched through the bridge windows as his passengers took their last look at New Geneva. The planet's 3 moons hung in the dark sky like silver coins. The colonists had named them Hope, Faith, and Charity when they first arrived.
Ow.
Now those names felt like bitter jokes. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planetary government, his communications officer reported. They're asking us to reconsider. They say they can protect us from Council retaliation. Ryan shook his head. Tell them we appreciate the offer, but Earth's decision is final. We won't put them at risk by staying. The New Geneva government was controlled by Altarians, one of the few alien species that had always treated humans fairly. But even good friends could not protect Earth's people from the Council's anger. It was better to leave now while departure was still possible. In the passenger compartments, families gathered around small windows to watch their former home shrink into the distance. Maria Santos held her young daughter close as they left the only world the child had ever known. "Where are we going, Mama?" the girl asked.
Home.
Maria replied, though she was not sure what that meant anymore. She had been born on New Geneva. Earth was just a name in history books to her. But Earth was calling its children back, and the Santos family would answer that call. Colonel Susan Davis led her extraction teams through the research complex on Harmony Station. The joint facility had been home to scientists from 12 different species working together on quantum physics projects. Most of the alien researchers had already fled when news of Earth's withdrawal reached the station. Download everything. From the main computers, Susan ordered her technicians. All research data, all experimental results. If we developed it, we take it with us. Dr. Alan Roberts, the station's chief physicist, supervised the data transfer. His hands shook as he worked. 30 years of research were compressed into portable storage devices. We were so close to a breakthrough, he muttered. The quantum tunneling project could have changed everything. It still can, Susan assured him. We'll continue the work on Earth, without council bureaucrats telling us what we can and cannot study. The extraction revealed something that surprised. Even Susan, human scientists had been responsible for most of the major breakthroughs in council space over the past century. Faster-than-light communication, improved medical scanners, more efficient energy systems, better food production methods. Earth had shared all of these innovations freely with their alien partners. Now the aliens would have to maintain these systems without human help. The quantum computers required specific maintenance procedures that only human technicians fully understood. The medical equipment needed regular software updates that Earth's programmers had provided. The energy systems had fail-safes that required human oversight to function properly. Admiral Ben Hayes faced the hardest decision of his career aboard the ESS Defiance. His ship was receiving desperate messages from mixed colonies throughout Council space. The planet Haven 7 had both human and Altarian populations living in harmony. The Altarian refugees had fled their war-torn homeworld decades ago, and humans had helped them rebuild their lives. Admiral Haven 7 is requesting permanent protection, reported Commander Lisa Park. They say the Draconian Syndicate is moving ships toward their system. Without Council protection, they're defenseless. Ben stared at the star map displayed on his bridge screen. Haven 7 was deep in Council space, far from Earth's defensive perimeter. Keeping ships there would be seen as a hostile act by the Council. It might even start a war. Send them our regrets, Ben finally decided. Tell them we cannot maintain forward positions. Advise them to contact the Council's peacekeeping forces for protection. Commander Park looked troubled. Sir, the peacekeeping forces are falling apart. Half their equipment was built by humans. Without our technical support, they can barely keep their ships running. Ben knew she was right, but the decision had already been made. Earth could not risk war over isolated colonies. The greater good required difficult choices. On Haven 7, Mayor Janet Cooper received Earth's response with tears in her eyes. The human and Altarian communities had worked together to build something special on their world. Now they would have to defend themselves against raiders and pirates without Earth's protection. What do we do now? Asked her Altarian deputy Kethmer. His people had fled one war only to face another potential conflict. We survived, Janet replied. We've done it before. Jake Morrison stood in Earth's communication center, preparing to send his final message to the galaxy. The withdrawal was nearly complete. In 72 hours, every human would be out of Council space. The operation had gone smoothly because it had been planned carefully. Admiral, we're ready to broadcast, reported Communications Chief Tony. Right. Jake nodded and activated the transmitter that would carry his words to every inhabited world in known space. Citizens of the galaxy. This is Fleet Admiral Morrison speaking for the people of Earth. We came in peace. We shared our knowledge freely, and we asked only for fairness in return. The Galactic Council has made its choice, and we have made ours. Earth will remember its friends, but we will no longer subsidize our enemies. This is our final transmission from Council space. The broadcast ended, and Jake turned away from the console. Behind him, technicians began shutting down Earth's communication networks throughout the galaxy. The great experiment in galactic cooperation was over. Now they would see what the galaxy looked like without humanity's helping hand. Chancellor Vexstar walked through the grand halls of the Zephyrian Imperial Palace. His scaled hands clasped behind his back. Large windows showed the capital city stretching to the horizon under purple skies. This should have been his moment of greatest triumph. Earth was gone, and the Zephyrian Empire could finally take its rightful place as the galaxy's dominant power. Chancellor, the trade redistribution proposals are ready for your review, announced his aide Corvash, holding a datapad filled with legislation. We can claim Earth's former shipping routes within the month. The mining rights to the Kepler system are also available for bid. Took the pad and scrolled through the documents. Everything looked perfect on the surface. The Zephyrians had worked for decades to remove Earth from power, and their plan had succeeded completely. The humans were gone, taking their annoying moral lectures and their disruptive innovations with them. "Begin the implementation immediately," Vexstar ordered. "I want Zephyrian trade ships in those routes before anyone else can claim them." But even as he spoke, something felt wrong. The palace's communication systems had been malfunctioning for 3 days. The quantum processors that managed the Empire's data networks were showing error messages that nobody understood. These were human-designed systems, stalled during a technology exchange program years ago. Dr. Elena Martinez sat in her new laboratory on Titan, Earth's largest research station. Banks of monitoring equipment surrounded her workstation, all of them tracking communications from across the galaxy, in which she was seeing worried her more each day. "Computer, display the failure reports from the past week," she commanded. Holographic. Screens filled the air around her desk. Each screen showed a different crisis developing in Council space. The Kepler Mining Consortium had lost 3 excavation platforms when their quantum drilling systems crashed. The Ryjo Medical Alliance was reporting equipment failures in hospitals across 12 worlds. Transportation networks were breaking down as navigation computers malfunctioned. All of these systems used human-designed components. Earth's engineers had built them to be reliable and efficient, but they required regular maintenance and software updates without human technical support. The equipment was slowly falling apart. Alina opened a communication channel to Earth's government. "Mr. President, you need to see these reports. Council's infrastructure is collapsing faster than we expected." President Alex Thompson reviewed the data from his office in Geneva. The numbers were staggering. Nearly 40% of the galaxy's critical systems depended on human technology in some way. Transportation, communication, medical care, mining, manufacturing, even basic life support on some space stations. Earth had been so generous with their innovations that the galaxy had become completely dependent on human expertise. "How long before total system failure?" Thompson asked. "Current rates, 6 months," Alina replied. "It may be less if they start making mistakes trying to fix things themselves." Captain Tony Wright guided his merchant ship Aurora's Dream through the border zone between Earth and Council space. His cargo hold was filled with medical supplies bound for Frontier 9, an independent world that still maintained trade relations with Earth. The planet's government had refused to join the Council's boycott of human goods. As Tony approached the planet, his sensors detected several distress signals from nearby systems. A passenger liner was stranded with engine failure. A mining ship was requesting emergency medical assistance. A research station was begging for help with life support problems. All of these emergencies were in Council space. Before Earth's withdrawal, human rescue ships would have responded immediately. Now, there was nobody to help. The Council's own emergency services were overwhelmed and understaffed. Tony's communications officer picked up a transmission from the stranded passenger liner, Aurora's Dream. "This is the Council ship Harmony's Light. We have 300 passengers aboard and our engines have failed. Can you assist?" Tony stared at the message for a long moment. The passengers were probably innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the Council's political games, but responding to the distress call would violate Earth's withdrawal from Council space. "Send our regrets," Tony finally decided. "Tell them to contact the Council's emergency services. Sir, the nearest Council rescue ship is 4 days away. They might not make it." Tony closed his eyes. This was the cost of the Council's decision to drive Earth away. Good people would suffer because their leaders had chosen politics over justice. General Akhmer of the Centaurian Defense Corps stood in his command center, surrounded by displays showing the sorry state of his forces. The peacekeeping fleet had seemed so powerful just months ago. Now it was falling apart like a house of cards. "General, the 3rd Squadron is reporting major system failures," announced his operations officer. "Their weapon systems are offline, and their shields are operating at 30% capacity." Thakmer pulled up the technical reports on his screen. The problems were all related to human-designed components, targeting computers, energy management systems, defensive arrays, even the artificial intelligence programs that helped coordinate fleet movements. All of it had been built by humans or used human technology as key components. What about replacement parts? Thakmar asked. That's the problem, sir. Most of these systems were built specifically for us by human engineers. We don't have the technical knowledge to manufacture replacements. The general sat down heavily. In his command chair, the peacekeeping fleet was supposed to maintain order throughout Council space. How could they do that with broken ships and failing equipment? On the frontier world of Nexus 7, pirate attacks were increasing every week. The local defense force had only 2 working patrol ships, and both were using outdated weapon systems. The pirates knew that help was not coming from the peacekeeping fleet. They were getting bolder with each raid. Commander Rick Adams led the defense force from his small command post. His people were good fighters, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Before Earth's withdrawal, a single call for assistance would have brought human patrol ships within hours. Now they were on their own. Sir, we're receiving reports of 3 more pirate ships entering the system, reported his sensor operator. The merchants are requesting immediate protection. Rick looked at his tactical display. 2 patrol ships against 5 pirate vessels. The math was not in their favor. But these were his people, and he would defend them with everything he had. Ambassador Lisa Carter sat in her office on the neutral world of Nexus Prime, reading diplomatic messages from across the galaxy. The reports painted a picture of growing chaos and desperation. Independent worlds were forming defense alliances. Trade routes were becoming dangerous as piracy increased. Several minor species were quietly asking about joining Earth's sphere of influence. The most surprising message came from the Terran Confederation. These longtime allies of Earth were formally requesting a meeting to discuss mutual defense agreements. They had watched the Council's treatment of humanity and decided they wanted no part of such corruption. Lisa smiled as she read the Altarian message. Earth's withdrawal was having exactly the effect that Jake Morrison had predicted. The galaxy was learning the difference between fair partners and political bullies. The Council had gotten exactly what they wanted. Earth was gone, and they were free to run the galaxy however they pleased. The question was whether they would like the results. The first cases of the Vorthon plague appeared on a mining colony in the Outer Rim. Dr. Sarah Kim, Colony's only medical officer, had never seen anything like it. The silicon-based miners were collapsing at their workstations, their crystalline bodies turning dark and brittle. Colony Control, this is Medical Base 7, Sarah transmitted to the main station. I need immediate evacuation support. We have a major outbreak of unknown disease. The response came back 30 minutes later. Medical Base 7, your request has been forwarded to the Council Health Authority. Expect a response within 72 hours. Sarah stared at the communication device in disbelief. 72 hours? By then, every miner on the colony would be dead. Before Earth's withdrawal, human medical teams would have been on site within 6 hours with full quarantine equipment and research support. Dr. Nathan was received. Blake reports at his research station on Titan. The data made his blood run cold. This was not a natural disease. The pathogen was spreading too fast and adapting too quickly. Someone or something had engineered this plague to target silicon-based life forms. Computer cross-reference this pathogen with all known biological weapons, Nathan commanded. The results appeared on his screen within seconds. The plague matched theoretical models for engineered bioweapons that human scientists had developed years ago. The research had been purely defensive, designed to help create countermeasures against potential biological attacks. But the Council had demanded access to all human research data during their partnership. Nathan realized with growing horror that someone had taken Earth's defensive research and turned it into an actual weapon. The plague was spreading through Council space like wildfire, and the aliens had no idea how to stop it. On the Vorthon homeworld, entire cities were going dark as the population succumbed to the disease. The planet's crystalline architecture, grown over thousands of years, was crumbling as its builders died. Prime Crystal Veltar, leader of the Terran Confederation, sent desperate messages to every government in the galaxy. This is Prime Crystal. Veltar speaking to all civilized worlds. Our people are dying. We need immediate medical assistance. We'll pay any price. make any agreement, if someone can help us. The message reached Earth's diplomatic stations, but President Thompson was bound by the withdrawal agreement. Earth was no longer part of galactic affairs. Getting involved in the plague crisis would violate their official neutrality. Meanwhile, the Draconian syndicate was taking advantage of the chaos. Fleet Commander Zarkith led his warships into the Gamma sector, targeting worlds weakened by plague and equipment failures. The Draconians were a coalition of warrior species that lived for conquest and battle. The Council grows weak, Zarkith announced to his assembled captains. Their ships break down, their defenses fail, and their people die from disease. This is our moment to reclaim what was stolen from us. The first Draconian attack hit the mining world of Kepler Prime. The planet's defense grid had been offline for weeks. Due to equipment failures, the small garrison of peacekeeping forces fought bravely, but were overwhelmed within hours. General Thokmer received word of the defeat while trying to repair his own flagship. The Draconian attack confirmed his worst fears. Without functional weapons and working ships, the peacekeeping forces could not protect anyone. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from 17 different systems," reported his communications officer. "The Draconians are moving faster than we expected." Thakmer looked at his tactical display. Red warning lights marked every system under attack. His forces were scattered across the galaxy, most of them dealing with equipment failures or plague outbreaks. There was no way to mount an effective defense. Captain Rodriguez commanded the S Horizon as it patrolled Earth's expanded defensive perimeter. Her sensors detected dozens of refugee ships fleeing from Council space. These vessels carried not just desperate civilians, but also defecting scientists and military officers. "Captain, we have another group of refugees requesting asylum," reported her tactical officer. "This convoy includes 3 Altarian government ships." Rodriguez studied the approaching vessels through her bridge windows. The lead ship was transmitting Altarian government codes. If she was reading the signals correctly, these were not just refugees. They were official representatives seeking Earth's protection. "Grant them safe passage to Luna Station," Rodriguez decided. "Send word to Earth Command that we have diplomatic arrivals." At Luna Station, Dr. Wells was processing a steady stream of defecting alien scientists. These researchers brought with them critical intelligence about the plague and the Draconian attacks. More importantly, they brought detailed information about the Council's military weaknesses. "Dr. Wells, we have a breakthrough," announced Dr. Lisa Park, his research partner. "Altarian scientists have provided the missing piece of the plague puzzle. We can synthesize a cure within 48 hours. Nathan felt a mixture of relief and frustration. Earth had the knowledge to save millions of lives, but their withdrawal agreement prevented direct intervention. They could not simply send medical teams into Council space without violating their neutrality. Admiral Hayes convened an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. The situation reports painted a picture of complete systemic collapse in Council space. The plague was spreading unchecked. The Draconians were conquering world after world, and the infrastructure was breaking down everywhere. "Gentlemen, we have a decision to make," Hayes announced to the assembled officers. "We can maintain our withdrawal and watch the galaxy burn, or we can act to prevent a complete catastrophe." Commander Pete Johnson had been running reconnaissance missions along the border. His reports confirmed the worst fears about Council space. "Sir, at current rates of decline, we estimate complete governmental collapse within 6 months. The Draconians will control half the galaxy by then." President Thompson joined the meeting via secure communication from Earth. She had been receiving desperate messages from alien governments, independent worlds, and even some council members. Everyone wanted Earth's help, but nobody was willing to admit they had been wrong to drive humanity away. "The Terran Confederation has formally requested our assistance," Thompson reported. "They're offering a full military alliance and unrestricted access to their territory. Several other governments are making similar overtures." The situation was becoming impossible to ignore. Earth had the medical knowledge to stop the plague, the military strength to defeat the Draconians, and the technical expertise to repair the failing infrastructure. But acting would mean abandoning their withdrawal and potentially starting a war with the Council. Jake Morrison spoke from his position as fleet commander. The council wanted us gone. They got their wish. But our friends should not have to suffer. For the council's mistakes, the room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Earth had withdrawn to avoid being controlled by corrupt politicians. But could they stand by and watch innocent people die while they had the power to? Help. The answer would determine not just Earth's future, but the fate of the entire galaxy. Chancellor Vexstar paced in his private chambers as emergency reports flooded in from across the Zephyrian Empire. 3 of his outer colonies had fallen to Draconian attacks. The plague was spreading through his mining operations, his own palaces. Communication systems had crashed completely that morning. Chancellor, we have urgent messages from the Council Assembly, his aide Corvash announced, his voice shaking with barely controlled panic. The Altarian delegate is calling for your immediate removal from office. The Rigel Medical Alliance is threatening to withdraw from the Council unless Earth is recalled immediately. Vexstar stopped pacing and turned to face his aide. 6 months ago, he had been the most powerful politician in the galaxy. Now his own allies were abandoning him as the crisis deepened. What about our military forces? Vexstar demanded. Again, they not handle a few Draconian raiders? Corvash consulted his datapad with trembling hands. Sir Admiral Kexmore reports that 60% of our fleet is non-operational due to equipment failures. The ships that still function are being deployed to defend our core worlds. The Chancellor walked to his window and stared out at the capital city. Even here on the Empire's most protected world, he could see signs of decay. Building maintenance systems were failing. Transportation networks were breaking down. The entire infrastructure that supported galactic civilization was collapsing. Piece by piece, Ambassador Lisa Carter sat in her office on Nexus Prime, reading the most surprising diplomatic message of her career. It had arrived through secret channels, the encryption codes that only the highest levels of the Council government possessed. The message was brief and to the point. The Galactic Council formally apologized for their treatment of Earth. They offered immediate reinstatement with full voting rights, expanded territorial privileges, and guaranteed autonomy for all human colonies. They were even willing to restructure the entire alliance to give Earth permanent representation on all major committees. Lisa read the message 3 times to make sure she understood it correctly. This was not just an invitation to return. This was complete surrender. The Council was offering to rebuild their entire government structure around Earth's demands. She opened a secure communication channel to President Thompson on Earth. Ma'am, you need to see this immediately. The Council is offering terms that go far beyond anything we ever asked for. President Thompson reviewed the message from her office in Geneva. The terms were indeed remarkable. Everything that Earth had wanted during years of diplomatic negotiations was being offered freely. The Council was even willing to eliminate the non-interference directive that had been used against humanity. What's the catch? Thompson asked her advisors. Dr. Rachel Stone, Earth's chief strategic analyst, pulled up intelligence reports on her tablet. The catch is that they're desperate. Our sources indicate the Council government will collapse within weeks without immediate assistance. This is not a negotiated settlement. This is a plea for rescue. The situation had changed dramatically. Since Earth's withdrawal, during the isolation period, humanity had not been idle. Earth's military had been modernized with new ship designs and improved weapons. Their technology had advanced without the restrictions of Council oversight. Their economy had been restructured to be completely independent of galactic markets. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, now the flagship of a much larger Earth fleet. His ship had been upgraded with experimental technologies that made it more powerful than anything in Council space. The engineering teams had combined human innovation with alien technologies acquired during the evacuation, creating vessels that were truly advanced. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Council space, reported Communications Officer Dave Miller. It's Admiral Quinter of the Centaurian Defense Corps. Hayes nodded for the transmission to be put through. Admiral Quinter, appeared on the main screen, his blue-scaled face showing obvious exhaustion and desperation. "Admiral Hayes, I am speaking to you not as a council representative, but as an old friend," Quinter began. "Our forces are collapsing. The Draconians have taken 12 systems in the past week. We cannot stop them without help." Hayes had served alongside Quinter for many years before Earth's withdrawal. The Centaurian was an honorable officer who had always treated humans with respect. Seeing him reduced to begging for assistance was painful. "What are you asking of us, Admiral?" Hayes replied carefully. "The Council is prepared to offer Earth's complete autonomy within a restructured alliance. No oversight, no interference, restrictions on your military operations. In exchange, we need your immediate assistance against the Draconian threat." The transmission ended, and Hayes stood quietly on his bridge. The offer was everything that Earth had wanted originally. But the circumstances had changed completely. Earth no longer needed the Council's permission for anything. They had become self-sufficient and strong enough to defend themselves. Jake Morrison, now serving as Earth's supreme military commander, received similar messages from commanders throughout Council space. The tone of these communications had changed dramatically since the withdrawal. 6 months ago, these same officers had supported Earth's punishment. Now they were begging for help. "Sir, we have confirmation that the plague has reached the Vorthon homeworld," reported intelligence. Chief Kevin Brown. "The death toll is estimated at over 50 million and rising. Dr. Wells says we could deploy a cure within 24 hours if given authorization." Jake stared at the casualty reports. 50 million deaths from a plague that Earth could stop. Immediately, the moral weight of that decision pressed down on him like a physical force. President Thompson called an emergency session of Earth's Leadership Council. Representatives from every major department gathered in the secure conference room beneath Geneva. The decision they made would determine not just Earth's future, but the shape of galactic civilization. "The Council has offered us everything we originally wanted," Thompson began. "But we no longer need their approval for anything. We have become stronger during our isolation. The question is whether we use that strength to help people who drove us away." Secretary of Defense William Carter spoke first. "Ma'am, the strategic situation favors immediate action. If we wait much longer, there may not be a galactic civilization left to save." Secretary of State Jennifer Walsh disagreed. "The Council needs to understand the consequences of their actions. If we rescue them too quickly, they will not learn from their mistakes." Dr. Wells joined the meeting via video link from Titan. "President, I have teams ready to deploy the plague cure immediately. Every day we delay costs thousands of lives." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Earth had the power to save the galaxy, but doing so would mean abandoning their hard-won independence. On the other hand, standing by while millions died would make Earth no better than the corrupt politicians they had left behind. Jake Morrison spoke last. 6 months ago, the Council expected us to grovel and beg for their forgiveness. Instead, we walked away and became stronger. Now, they are the ones begging. But the people dying from plague and draconian attacks are not the politicians who betrayed us. They are innocent civilians who deserve our protection. President Thompson nodded slowly. The decision was becoming clear. Earth would act, but on their own terms and according to their own principles. The galaxy was about to learn what real leadership looked like. The first Earth ships to return to Council space were not warships, but medical vessels. Dr. Nathan Wells led a fleet of hospital ships toward the Vorthon homeworld, carrying the cure for the plague that had killed millions. But these ships flew under Earth flags, not Council banners. Vorthon control. "This is Earth's medical fleet Alpha," Dr. Wells transmitted as his ships approached the dying world. "We are here to provide humanitarian assistance. We require no permissions and will accept no restrictions on our operations." The response came immediately from Prime Crystal Veltar, the Vorthon leader whose people were facing extinction. "Earth, Medical Fleet, you have complete authority to act as you see fit. We place our world under your protection." Wells smiled at the response. 6 months ago, the Council would have demanded committees and approval processes before allowing any medical intervention. Now desperate worlds were giving Earth's complete authority to save them. Captain Tony Wright commanded one of the medical ships as it landed on the Vorthon surface. The crystalline cities were dark and empty, their silicon-based builders lying motionless in the streets. Wright's medical teams moved quickly through the urban areas, deploying cure dispensers and setting up treatment centers. Dr. Wells, the cure is working faster than expected, reported Dr. Carol Davis from the surface. The Vorthons are responding within hours instead of days. Wells nodded with satisfaction. Earth's medical technology had advanced significantly. During their isolation, they had learned to synthesize treatments more efficiently and deploy them more effectively. The galaxy was seeing Earth's capabilities at their peak. Meanwhile, Admiral Hayes led the Earth Defense Fleet toward the Gamma Sector, where Draconian forces were attacking the colony world of Haven 7. The same world that Earth had been forced to abandon months earlier was now under direct assault. Admiral, we're detecting 15 Draconian warships in orbit around Haven 7, reported Tactical Officer Commander Lisa Park. They're bombarding the surface settlements. Hayes studied the tactical display. The Draconian ships were powerful, but used outdated designs. Earth's new vessels incorporated the best technologies from dozens of alien species, all improved through human engineering. All ships, attack Formation Delta, Hayes ordered. Show them what happens when you threaten innocent people. The battle was over in 30 minutes. Earth's advanced ships cut through the Draconian fleet like knives through paper. The enemy vessels had never faced weapon systems that could adapt and learn during combat. By the time the Draconians realized they were outmatched, it was too late to retreat. Captain Amy Rodriguez led the ground assault that liberated Haven 7's surface. The mixed human and Altarian population cheered as Earth troops pushed back the Draconian invaders. These were the same people that Earth had been forced to abandon during the withdrawal. "Welcome back," called out Mayor Janet Cooper as Rodriguez's forces secured the main settlement. "We knew you would return when we needed you most." Rodriguez helped evacuate wounded civilians to Earth medical ships. "Should never have left you unprotected. That mistake will not happen again." The liberation of Haven 7 sent shockwaves throughout Council space. Earth had not simply returned as a member of the Galactic community. It returned as its protectors and leaders. On the neutral world of Nexus Prime, representatives from dozens of governments gathered for an emergency conference. Ambassador Lisa Carter found herself at the center of negotiations that would reshape galactic civilization. "The old council system has failed," announced Prime Minister Kethmer of the Terran Confederation. "We propose the formation of a new alliance with Earth as the leading partner." Similar declarations came from representatives of 30 other worlds. The Rigel Medical Alliance, the Kepler Mining Consortium, and even some former council members wanted to join. What was being called the Terran Confederation, Chancellor Vextar attended the conference as a broken politician. His empire was collapsing. His military was defeated, and his people were demanding his removal from office. He sat quietly in his assigned seat, no longer the dominant force he had once been. "The Zephyrian Empire requests membership in the Terran Confederation," Vextar announced, his voice barely audible. "We acknowledge Earth's leadership and accept whatever terms are offered." Lisa Carter stood to address the assembly. Her words would be broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "Earth does not seek to rule over other species. We offer partnership to those who embrace mutual respect and mutual benefit. But we will never again subordinate ourselves to corrupt bureaucrats or political bullies." The new alliance structure was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of a single massive government, the Terran Confederation was organized as a network of independent regions. Each member world retained full autonomy over its internal affairs. Earth provided coordination, protection, and technological support, but did not impose universal laws or regulations. President Thompson addressed the galaxy from Earth's orbital headquarters above Geneva. The new space station was larger and more advanced than anything the old council had built. "The age of bureaucratic control is over," Thompson announced. "Worlds that want freedom and protection can join the Confederation." The Those that prefer the old system can remain with the Reformed Council, and those that want complete independence can chart their own course. The choice belongs to each civilization. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within weeks, over 200 worlds had applied for Confederation membership. The old council retained control of perhaps 50 systems, mostly in the core regions where Zephyrian influence remained strong. Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the new headquarters, watching Earth's blue surface turn slowly below. The planet that had been driven from galactic politics was now the center of a new and better alliance. "Sir, we're receiving reports from the frontier sectors," announced Communications Chief Mike Thompson. The Confederation's rapid response. "Teams have eliminated piracy in 17 systems this month." Jake smiled as he reviewed the reports. Earth's withdrawal had forced them to become stronger and more self-reliant. Now, they were using that strength to protect worlds that had never known real security. Dr. Elena Martinez joined him at the observation window. Her research teams were working with scientists from dozens of species, developing new technologies and solving old problems without political interference. "The galaxy is finally working the way it should have from the beginning," Elena observed. "People helping people, sharing knowledge freely, protecting the innocent." Jake nodded as he watched the busy traffic of ships moving between Earth and the stars. The Council had expected Earth to grovel and beg for readmission. Instead, humanity had built something better. The galaxy had fallen into chaos when Earth abandoned the Council. But from that chaos had emerged a new order based on cooperation rather than control, partnership rather than politics, and justice rather than bureaucracy. Earth had not just survived its exile. They had used it to become the leaders the galaxy truly needed.